away. Your attention should be on the screen. Thank you, Drew. Appreciate it. Even where I can't see you, your phone should be put away. You should be able to see my screen behind me. Okay, so we're gonna switch real quick. I'm gonna do one of these, and then one of these, and then one of these. I got a lot of stuff to flip over real quick. And I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do this. And you should be able to see my camera on the Zoom room as well as the dot cam behind me. So let me do some adjustments because it's a little bit off. Let's get that centered, that centered. Okay, that should be pretty close. It's not exactly one-to-one, but you can see what I have right here is some type of logo sketch. So imagine this is your sketch work from Friday before we went to break. You should either have the paper physically, or you should just pull from your Canvas submission for 2.1, because both of those will work for what we're doing today. All right, so I have my logo sketch here. I'm gonna take my phone, whatever make and model phone you got, and I'm gonna grab a picture of that logo or of that sketch. Oh, okay, that's not what I wanted. Oh, perfect timing. Man, I'm having lots of technical types of difficulties today. You can see my phone wallpaper, some trees while I am stuck in here. Okay, there we go. All right, so like I was saying, I'm gonna take a picture of my logo, trying to fill as much of the screen as possible. I wanna just be focused on the logo that I want to vectorize. Let me do this so you can see in the Zoom room a little bit better. Trying to fill it as much as you can. And just take that quick picture of the final logo that you want to vectorize. Okay, so now we have this image here. What we're going to do next is take advantage of that OneDrive app. You will probably need to sign in once you get to this point. But if you have an iPhone, you can click on the share button and then scroll over to OneDrive. It's going to think for a second. It's going to ask you, where do you want to save this file? If you click on this little files icon, you can make your way down to your, where is it? 6-period graphic design folder, of course. And then you can just click upload here. And it will start uploading that image that you just took. However, oh, you can see my face in the reflection. That's cool. However, problem with this is if you have an iPhone, it uses a special type of image codec called an HEIC, which Windows computers don't super like to play nice with. So what I'm going to do instead, if you don't have an iPhone and you have an Android instead, it should skip. You can skip this step. But if you have an iPhone, if you take a screenshot of the picture that you took, you can upload that one to OneDrive. And then it will have the correct ability to open on Illustrator, which we'll get into here in just a second. That's 1st-period graphic design. We're going to go to 6th-period graphic design. Alternatively, you can also just pull it straight off of your Canvas submissions if you want to go that route. But this is the way to do it with the OneDrive app on your phone. Okay, so now if I am going to open up my OneDrive, here we are. Ding, ding, ding. It's going to take a second to think. So I have a bunch of the same folders that I just clicked through. 6-period graphic design. It should have 2 images. If I go full screen here. There they are. There's my 2 images. There's the one that I uploaded and the one that I took a screenshot of because it's got the date on there. Okay, so I'm going to switch back to my computer now. Share that. Turn that off. Press all my buttons here. If I go into my OneDrive on my computer, there it is, ready to go. So 2023, semester 2, graphic design. There's both my pictures. Okay. Of course, it decided to be a JPEG instead of a HEIC like it normally is. All right. So now that you've gotten your sketch that you want to vectorize, the version that you want to finalize into your OneDrive, now we can bring it into an Illustrator and start doing some things to turn it into a final product. So I'm going to open up Illustrator. You guys have work time to do this, so if I'm going too fast, don't freak out because I can help you in our work time phase. But we're looking at Illustrator now. And we're going to create a new file. And since I've probably created more than you guys at this point. So mine's a little bit busier. But you should, in this recent tab, have one that should be our 5x5 inch artboard size, which should be, we'll go with, let's see, where is it? Oh, it's perfect. It's right here. Custom one right here. So if it says custom, that means it probably has RGB color, 72 pixels per inch, PPI on there, and it should be 5 by 5 inches square. Since that's in our recents, all you have to do is click create, and that will get you to the same artboard space that we had when we created our 3-line project. Just as a reminder, if your screen does not look like mine, you can go to Window and then Workspace and click on Essentials Classic. That will have you allow you the easiest way to directly copy what I'm showing off, but that's something that we can do later. Okay, so this process that we're gonna do here is exactly the same as the vectorization stuff that we did for that first line project. We're gonna go up to File and then click Place. File's that first one, and then Place right here. And then it's gonna open up our whatever folder you had open last. For me, it was first period graphic design. I can go to 6th period graphic design, and it should have my 2 logo sketches. I had to do the screenshot version. You'll probably only have the one, but I'm gonna click on it, and then I'm gonna click place, which is gonna attach that picture once it downloads from my OneDrive to my cursor. Exactly the same process as the vectorization from before, but the actual vectorization part is a little bit different. There's some things I want you to focus on. Okay, I click in the white space, and it's quite a bit larger than my 5 by 5 inches, right? So I'm gonna hold Alt and scroll out, right? My image is way bigger than my artboard for some reason. I don't know why. It was not like that in first. But to resize, I'm gonna hold Shift before I do anything, and then click and drag down from the corner so that it scales evenly. If I let go of Shift, it's gonna squash it, and I'm gonna lose all my detail. However, I can still hold Shift before I let go of the mouse, and it will still retain the correct size. So anytime you move something with keys, remember you let go of the mouse first and then the keyboard. We're gonna drag that into our space over here. Alt scroll to zoom back in, hold spacebar to click and drag around with the hand tool, getting reacquainted with navigating around Adobe Illustrator, right? Okay, so we have our image placed on our canvas. We have our sketch that we want to turn into our final product placed on our canvas here. But now we need to set it as a template folder and create that tracing layer above the top of it. So you click on your layers panel. You can also go to Window and then click on the word layers. Anytime you need a tool that you can't see or that you're not sure where it is, like based on just these buttons, the Window tab is going to have all of your tools in alphabetical order, and then layers is going to be right down here. When I click on layers, it pops open this little window, and the only thing on layer 1 is my sketch image that we placed. The reason that I want you to file place these pictures is that if you decide you want to be a graphic designer or work in the digital creative media space after high school, when you're sharing files that have an image placed, it will take the picture with it. If you just drag and drop and you send it to the other designer to finish, they won't have access to the picture, or they might not have access to the picture. This just guarantees that it'll be available to everyone working on your project. Okay, side note concluded. If you click on the plus button right here, that's going to create our new layer that traces over the top of our drawing. It's just going to be blank. It's not going to change anything visually on our screen. What we do need to change before we can do any type of sketching is to click in this empty space right here, in between the words layer 1 and this blue, or not this circle, just the regular circle. Double click on that, pops open our layer options menu. We're going to check the box that says template and then click OK. That is the same process as locking and lowering from the vectorization project before we went to break. But if I try to take my brush tool on this, I get the pencil with the no icon. It's because I'm trying to draw on the template layer. You know which layer you have selected because it has a blue selection of some type over the top of it. So if I click on layer 2, now I can scribble all over this thing and start tracing my shape. So some things I want you guys to keep in mind. Instead of just tracing, trying to get this around with my mouse, or trying to use the pens if you have them, I'm taking inventory. We're missing some pens. We're missing some tablets. If you really want to use one, I can borrow one from someone who doesn't. We'll talk about that later. Give me just a second. Okay, so if you've taken any studio art classes at Skyline, or if you've had some art experience, you've heard about basic shapes and kind of how things are all made up of basic shapes. The same thing is true for graphic design. When you're making something, you want to focus on the most basic shapes that build it, kind of like Legos, instead of just trying to draw it again in the digital space. Okay, so I'm going to focus first. I have a circle here in my example. I have some words that are right side up and upside down, and then I have a drawing of a bee that I'm going to try to vectorize here. I'm going to start by focusing on the basic shape of the circle by clicking and holding on my rectangle tool to get my ellipse tool, because we're not going to use the pen tool quite yet. That's something that we're going to work on later. So if I click and drag, it's going to create a circle that is not perfect. It's going to create an ellipse until I hold the shift key. The second I start holding the shift key, it becomes a perfect circle. The second I let go of the shift key, it's going to return back to a regular imperfect ellipse. So this is where you can start making decisions on, do you want your logo to look more handmade? Do you want it to look less perfect than Illustrator can provide? Or do you want to start taking advantage of the tools that Illustrator has to make your logo a little bit more perfect in the sense of the shapes and stuff? Okay, so I'm clicking and dragging my circle over my sketch, but now I can't see anything that's going on inside of it because this circle currently has a fill. So I'm going to let go of the mouse first and then the shift key. Work my way over to my fill and stroke boxes, which are these guys right here. If your toolbar looks like this, they're really tiny down here in the bottom. You can click on these two triangles at the top. That's going to pop them out and make them a lot easier to see here. Okay, you can press X to switch between fill and stroke. You look right here, it's switching which one is in front. Fill is the solid box, stroke is the outside box. I want to set my fill to none by putting the fill box in the front and then clicking on this red slash right here. Click on the red slash. Now I can start seeing my sketch underneath, and I can, there we go. I can start seeing my sketch underneath, and I can start to adjust things as I see fit. So I'm just focusing on the basic shape. It's just circles, rectangles, triangles of how I can make my design into a digital draft. It's not going to be perfect the first time, but how I can turn it into a digital draft of my logo project that we sketched out last week. Okay, so I've got my circle. I'm going to go with the more perfect route as compared to my more elliptical shape that I sketched. You get the choice. You have time to work on that, and I can help you individually. But I want my center to be this artwork, so I'm going to take my little, when I get close to my placed image, a little smart guide will pop up, that little pink line with the cross, or the X, I mean. I want that to be kind of in the middle of my B right here. Okay, so now I'm going to focus on the text, doing the basic stuff first, things that I know how to do straight off the bat. I'm going to press my T button right here, or I can hit T on my keyboard to get my type tool. It's important that you don't click and drag. So if I click and drag a text box that I think is going to take up all of this first part that says words here, when I let go, it's going to fill in with way more words than I want to actually use. So I'm going to hit Control Z to get rid of that. And instead of clicking and dragging, I'm just going to click once, and then it's only going to take up the required space that I need. So I'm going to type the word words, and it's not quite lined up, but now I can take my selection tool and I can resize that. So I'm not holding shift because I actually want to freely transform this and get it pretty close to how it looks on my sketch. It does not have to be perfect. I want you guys to experiment some more. Just kind of get used to using these programs. Just resize that a little bit. That looks pretty good. I'm going to leave it right there. Okay. I've already got this words set up the way that I want it to be. So I'm going to hold Alt and then click and drag a copy down to the bottom here. Get it lined up and then let go of the mouse first and then the key, the Alt key. And now I can flip this upside down instead of having to make a whole new Words document or a whole new Words text box that's going to fit over top of the bottom set. But in order to make it look like my sketch, I need to rotate this, or technically invert it. There's two ways I can do that. By going to the corner anchor point, remember outside of the bounding box, these things are called anchor points. If I go to a corner one and it's got a curved arrow like this or like this, not a straight one like this, you want a curved arrow, that's going to allow me to rotate the text box all the way to the other side. And with my smart guides, it's going to snap at that point where it's fully 180 degrees. And then I just let go of the mouse. Now I have my words that I can move around a little bit so that it's closer to where I need it to be in this case. Just like this, just kind of trying to get it as close as I can to my my logo sketch
here. So now we've gotten to the hard part, for the most part, is actually changing our sketch, our actual drawing parts, into a vectorized path, because we've not learned the pen tool yet. And the pen tool is not very user-friendly if you've never seen it or had a little bit of context before you use it. So I'm actually going to take my brush tool and do some of the things on here that I can't really draw with basic shapes. I know the basic shape of the bee's head is a circle. I know the basic shape of the bee's body is kind of this rhombus, oval. This is a straight line. These are some curved lines, right? I'm thinking about how do I build this complex shape out of basic Lego pieces. But these antennae are not very easy to do basic shapes, so I'm going to use my brush tool. I'm just going to click and drag along that as best I can. Remember, it's not going to be perfect. Draw a little circle situation for that. And then I'm also going to do this on the wings since they're a little bit more of a complex shape. Just like this. And this is going to differ dependent on what you guys are doing. Yeah, see, that was not very good. But I can take my ellipse tool and I can draw out a small perfect circle that if I hold Alt and zoom in, use the space bar as my hand tool to click and drag around my artboard. I can press V on my keyboard to get my move tool. And I can move that circle towards the head of my bee so that it's a little bit closer to its actual size. You might notice right now that this circle is technically thinner than these paths are, these brush paths. This is something called stroke weight. So if you go over here to the properties tab, where is stroke weight? Where did they put it? Hold on. It's usually in the properties tab. I don't know where they moved it. It's got to be here somewhere. Give me my stroke weights. There we go. Okay, there's two places you can do this. You can either click on this appearance button right here, or there's a stroke option right up here. See how it currently says 1 point? If I hit this up button, it's going to increase the thickness of that path. And I just want it to be a little bit closer to my actual size here. Okay, and now I'm going to do the bee's body with the ellipse tool. I'm going to click and drag. I want it to be not perfect because I want it to be the bee's kind of lengthy body. Put that in there, do a little rotating. Just kind of get it as close as I can to my sketch as possible. This circle has a fill but no stroke, so I want to swap that so it has a stroke but no fill. I can click on this little button right here that says swap fill and stroke, or I can hold Shift and X on my keyboard, and that's going to switch it for me automatically. And I can do the B lines poorly, but I can do them right here. All right, and then I'll do the stinger just like that. Okay, so remember, me as the teacher, I've made an example that is not very finished, you know? This stroke weight is different. There's disconnected anchor points. It's a little bit messy. I want you guys to be a little bit messy. I want it to not be perfect on this first day. So we've covered a lot in this period already, and I'm going to wrap it up here shortly. But the biggest thing that you guys need to focus on is bringing your logo sketch into Illustrator by file placing it, and then just trying to translate it into Illustrator using basic shapes like this. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. So I'll help you guys individually with the remainder of this period. We got about 27 minutes, I think, give or take. I'll be wandering around. Grab me if you have any questions. It's exactly the same vectorization process as was on the line. Okay, thank you guys for listening. I'm going to stop the Zoom room, and I will help you with whatever questions you got. Welcome back. Okay.